Hi everyone, welcome to Mic Drop with Julia, where we get to see person behind the title. Today I'm very happy to welcome Rob Devers, who is CIO at Majestic Realty. Rob and I met about a year and a half ago at Amazon, and he has recently started as a CIO at Majestic Realty. Welcome, Rob.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And Rob's job is not CDO, data officer, but CIO. But Rob and I really became friends over talking a lot about all the data challenges. So I think he's a closet data geek, or maybe not even closet very much.
Completely out.
Yes, fellow data geek. So question for you, what do you wish you knew when you started your career that you know well now?
I'm going to tell you this in the context of being a data geek and in data and data analytics, big type of data types of things that I wish I would have known then. Because like you said, I've done a lot of stuff with data, but a lot of stuff with IT in generally, but they're different. There are different things here. And the biggest difference I wish I would have known is that when you're doing big initiatives with data, they're transformational. Mm-hmm. And maybe a lot of people know that. And I think I kind of knew that too. Okay, that's transformational. But that means something different with how you relate to everybody and what's going on. If you have a regular operational IT thing going on, a project or something, say, for example, you're improving the supply chain and the supply chain costs whatever, $10 million and you get it 7% better. And so that saves $700,000 a year and a couple of people's tasks are automated. Okay, that's incremental. And that's nice, but things don't change as much, or the skills you need in dealing with people don't change as much as when it's transformational. When it's transformational, people's whole worlds are changed. It just completely rattles their cage and changes their whole world. So there's three things that I wish I knew, that three fallouts from that. The first one is almost going to sound crazy, is you have to find people who are willing to embrace the success. They think, oh my gosh, who wouldn't want to be part of the success? You do something that completely changes the nature of your business. Who wouldn't want to be part of it? But remember, now you're changing somebody's way of life. And a lot of folks, no matter how good it is, are not necessarily ready for that. So it's always finding the people who are going to adopt the success and making sure that they are ready for that. So that's number one. Number two, a close cousin to that, as you're finding those people, your role as a change agent, we're talking transformational, change agents, you're welcome as long as it's not perceived that you're making over 10% of the benefit. Once again, you got to find that person or that group who are willing to embrace the success and own it, but they need to be the owners of the success. If it comes back to you, that in the long run, that's going to be a problem. People like change agents that help them. They don't like change agents who are the owners of the transformation. And that will actually make both what you're doing short-lived and also even your ability to help out short-lived. Now, the last thing with this is just a reality. There is almost no change where there isn't going to be losers. I keep hearing all the time, maybe other people are going to disagree, that, oh, you do it right, you can always grow into something else. The net is better. Yes, well, the net is better, but I don't think there were very many people in the buggy whip world that were either delivering ice or elevator operators who said, oh, in my industry, what I'm doing right now is better. No, there are always going to be folks when you're doing something transformational that are going to get the short end of the stick. Be aware of that. Be honest with it. That actually helps the transformation as opposed to leading somebody on. You're much more realistically grounded for doing something transformational.
I completely agree. I'm listening to you and I'm thinking about, I write a lot about it, except for the last topic. It's a very realistic take, but it's a very honest and people don't like talking about it. So, but the first 2 points that you have to find stakeholders and partners, and you can't have all the responsibility and all the credit. You need to enable business strategy. And there has to be business strategy. If there is no business strategy, there is nothing you can do with data. There is no cleanup you can do that can create a business strategy. It's the other way around. So having said that, what would be your advice to people if you were in front of the room of data analytics professionals?
The number one advice is be flexible. Be like that old claymation character Gumby, where you can twist in any direction. Now, that sounds obvious at first, but it is a balance. Once again, when you're doing things traditionally, you're usually a hawk on making sure you're getting those right business objectives, making sure there's not scope creep, making sure that the stakeholders who brought you in are the ones that are happy. And if you veer too much away from that's not good. That's still true in a way, and there's still going to have to be a balance here in the flexibility, but there's a bit of a difference in the data world. Traditional IT, when you're doing some type of initiative or a project, you start with the requirements and you end up with some impactful data that people can work with. But in a data project, especially when it's more general, we're going to do general things with this data, especially analyze it. You start with the impactful data. You know this data can be impactful, and as you go down the path, you end up with the requirements. And because of that, you're in a world that requires a lot more flexibility. You're in a world that actually, where the initial business goals that were envisioned might go away, whole other ones that are even much better or similar or different or whatever, but impactful things will still stay. So that means you need to be flexible, not only in who you're working with and how you deliver things on the day-to-day and the approach, but in the outcome itself. You might actually find yourself in a situation where you thought you were going to fix part A or you transform part A of a business strategy and it's really part B. So overall, be flexible.
Yeah, especially nowadays with AI, because we used to do a lot of data requirements via reports or dashboards, and you would have requirements, and maybe by the time you've developed, it wasn't particularly relevant, and that was a huge thing. But now, with everybody getting used to ChatGPT asking general questions, you need to get enough data structured together to be able to answer your questions, whatever the question comes to mind. So it's actually a lot harder than it used to be, and a lot of this data discipline that we've been building overall is really needed to be able to do that. The other point, actually, it's tension between innovation and execution, because to execute, you need to watch the scope, right? You need to know exactly what you're delivering, and you need to project and give the dates and stick to the dates. For innovation, if you're doing something new, you don't know how long it's going to take you. So it's a difficult tension for a lot of, especially again, data teams, because you're doing something new, but then you have to stick to execution, deliverables, and dates. And it's not that you can let the dates go, but also if you try to be entirely predictable, you're not doing anything new.
Right.
So it's actually one of the biggest challenges I've had with managing large data initiatives, because again, you have that tension. And you have to make sure you do enough of execution, but give enough room for innovation.
And maybe in the future, this might warrant a deeper dive. Maybe we'll do a podcast that seeks to show some of the guiding principles on how to create this constructive tension. Because once again, there is. You've got the innovation on one side, you've got the actual delivery on the other side, and how do you merge those two things together? And there's a few things you can do.
Yeah, I've actually done a keynote on that in one of the conferences, especially on that. And I was like, yeah, discipline and execution gets in the way of innovation. So
that's really good.
Yeah, this is life. This is what it is. But thank you, Rob. This was excellent. Thank you. Wonderful advice and really great 3 points you've made.
Great. Thanks for having me.